All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, I have one for the books for you today. I'm going to tell you the story of the truly remarkable downfall of Robin Niceta. As far as down in utter flames type stories go over the past 2 years, Robin Niceta has managed to do it as totally and thoroughly and embarrassingly as anybody out there. We're going to pick up on the story about 2 years ago. By the end, we will be at present day. Buckle up. 2 years ago, Robin Niceta was a social caseworker at the Department of Human Services in Aurora, Colorado, known as the DHS. And the DHS in Aurora, Colorado handles possible child abuse reports. So if a teacher or a principal or a neighbor thinks, I don't know, I think this kid is being abused, they can call the Child Abuse Report Hotline at the Department of Human Services. Someone at the DHS will pick up the phone, possible Child Abuse Report Hotline at the Department of Human Services, how may I help you? And the teacher or the principal can say, listen, we don't know for sure, but this kid comes to school every day with bruises, or this kid comes to school wearing the same clothes and they smell horrible, or this kid keeps coming to school and talking about an uncle that gets naked a lot. So would you guys mind looking into the situation for us? And the person at the DHS says, no problem, we will take it from here. Thank you for your call. And then the case gets assigned to a social caseworker within the Department of Human Services, like old Robin Niceta. And once Robin Niceta, social caseworker, gets assigned the case, then she conducts an investigation to, one, see is this kid being abused, and two, is the mother and or parents fit to have custody of the kid, or should the kid be taken away permanently? And the investigations could take a couple days, it could take a couple weeks. Robin Niceta is going to go out and look at the house or the apartment, check out the living situation. All right, not looking too bad. Going to talk to the kid, going to meet with the mother or the parents multiple times, going to talk to the teacher, going to talk to everybody involved. And when the investigation is over, social caseworker Robin Niceta is going to go back to her desk at the DHS building and write up her recommendation, which then she'll either give to a judge, or sometimes, depending on the situation, Robin Niceta would actually testify as to the results of the investigation in court. Probably on days where she testifies, you'd think maybe wear a nice outfit. Hey, you look nice. Yeah, it's a court day. I got to testify. Okay, well, good luck. Break a leg. Thanks. So she's testifying on some days. Other days, she's writing her recommendation out to give to a judge. And you got to think that the judge that's making the final decision, this mother is not fit to have custody of her child. The child will be removed. Or the kid seems happy and healthy and well taken care of. This mother seems more than fit to take care of her kid. The kid stays. You got to think the judge that's making the final decision is basing it heavily off of whatever the social caseworker recommends, because the social caseworker is the one out there in the field talking to everybody, looking at the living situation. The judge isn't doing all of that. So the judge is going to base the big decision mostly off of the Robin Niceta recommendation. And so after a long day of conducting investigations into parents and writing recommendations and possibly testifying with a nice outfit on, Robin Niceta then goes home to her house in Aurora, Colorado to her girlfriend. And her girlfriend happened to be the police chief of Aurora, Colorado, Chief Vanessa Wilson. And the chief, that's a hell of a title. The chief is the highest ranking officer in the department. It doesn't get any higher up than the chief. They are literally the CEO and the general manager of the entire department. And then another part of their job is essentially a politician, because it's their job to decide and set the tone. What type of police department are we going to be? What is our strategy for the whole thing? And then they have to implement that strategy. I didn't know until putting this episode together how hard it is to become a police chief, especially in a town as big as Aurora, which is the third biggest city in Colorado. Maybe getting the police chief in a tiny little podunk town is possible if you work your whole career and try and get a little lucky, but to get a real decent-sized city and to be the police chief of the entire department is considered a dream job for a lot of people, and Chief Vanessa Wilson alluded to that in a press conference. It's a dream job. It's incredibly cutthroat to get. It's incredibly political. Everybody is criticizing you and backstabbing you and hoping you don't make it. And as of August of 2020, the Aurora Police Department was in a little bit of trouble. It wasn't going all that well, so they fired the police chief, and as of August of 2020, Chief Vanessa Wilson took over. And so, after a long day of stressful police chiefing and trying to figure out how to successfully run the department and everything that goes on with that, Chief Vanessa Wilson goes back to her home in Aurora, Colorado, to her girlfriend, social caseworker Robin Niceta. I'm sure they tell each other about the stresses of their day. You wouldn't even know, babe. I was investigating this family, and it was really bleak. I don't know if they are fit to have custody of their kids. And then Vanessa Wilson's going, you had a day. Whoo! The police department, everybody's stressed out. We're trying to get this going and it's not. And man, being a police chief is not easy. That's okay. You're a good police chief. Well, you're a good social caseworker. And Vanessa Wilson and Robin Niceta eat dinner together most likely, and maybe sit on the couch thigh to thigh and watch the news, and then make passionate scissor love and go to bed. And it's a couple in Aurora, Colorado, the police chief and a social caseworker. Well, one day during the first year of Vanessa Wilson's run as police chief, her girlfriend, Robin Niceta, calls into law enforcement to report a very serious crime. Robin Niceta calls in, and when your girlfriend is the police chief, calling the police in a way is just like calling your girlfriend, right? It's like, I'm calling my girlfriend at work. But Robin Niceta calls in and says, my ex, who she happened to be in a messy separation and custody battle with, my ex just came into my house and hit me over the head with something, causing me to go unconscious. Think about that. That could be home invasion, attempted murder. To get hit over the head with something so hard you go unconscious, you're most likely going to have some very horrible short-term concussion-related symptoms. And to be totally out like that, you might have long-term, forever terrible concussion symptoms. To go totally out, you could die hit with a blunt object. I mean, that's a serious allegation. And when Chief of Police Vanessa Wilson heard that her girlfriend had been brutally assaulted by her ex in their home, or I don't know if it was their home, but in Robin's home, she got mad. And Chief Vanessa Wilson apparently contacted the district attorney personally and rushed the whole arrest warrant process through. Someone that witnessed the whole thing said it was the fastest they've ever seen the process happen. Sounds like everybody's heads were still spinning. It happened so fast. By the time that Robin Niceta's ex, who she was in a messy separation and custody battle with, was arrested and charged. Think about if you were dating someone and you ended up breaking up with them. All right, it happens. You're in a little bit of a messy separation, and then you hear your ex is now dating the police chief. That's something. Well, good for them. I hope the best for them. And then all of a sudden, there's cops in your house and they're cuffing you. What the hell is going on? You are under arrest for assaulting your ex-girlfriend. What are you talking about? You are now under arrest and you're in cuffs and you're being charged and you're detained and you're going, what is going on? Well, the charges were eventually dropped because it was nonsense. And as you can imagine, the ex that got arrested, what seems like retaliation for the messy breakup and custody battle, You can imagine the ex then files a lawsuit against Police Chief Vanessa Wilson and the city. Are you kidding me? I'm suing you guys. I was arrested for this psycho. She was trying to get me thrown in jail for the custody battle. And you would think Robin Niceta would have some repercussions for trying to get her ex, who she's in a custody battle with, thrown in jail for serious charges. But there are perks to having a girlfriend who is the police chief of the entire department. So nothing happens and time goes on. Another wild story from Chief Vanessa Wilson's time as chief is, in order to totally get this story, I'm going to quickly tell you a story of something happened a few months before Vanessa Wilson took over as chief. The old regime. During the old regime, a few months before Vanessa Wilson took over, some 911 calls start coming in Aurora, Colorado. 911, what's your emergency? Yeah, there's a police officer completely passed out in their police cruiser in the middle of the road, in the median. And the 911 dispatcher goes, it's a police officer? And the caller goes, yeah, passed out in the middle of the road. It's a police officer. And the 911 dispatcher goes, okay, we'll send someone out. And then another call comes in. Yeah, there's a cop in the middle of the road. And then police officers get there, and that body camera footage went totally viral. And the normalcy that they're handling the situation, the cop is so drunk like this. They can't even wake him up. Think how many cops we've seen get DUIs where they're drunk, but they're with it enough to try to mount a defense. Turn your body camera off, please. Cut me a break. Can you please turn your body camera off? Or they're trying to act sober. I feel good. Just drank a bunch of water tonight. Just water. So they're drunk, but they can walk and they can talk and they can try to get out of it, and they have strategies. This guy couldn't do any of that. They could not wake him up, totally passed out with his gun in the middle of the road like this. And they get there, and you'd think it was an everyday occurrence at the Aurora Police Department. They're, all right, get his belt off, get him into the ambulance. Nothing to see here. We'll get him on some water. He'll be feeling good in no time. And that officer ended up testing to be 5 times over the legal limit. 5. That's a lot. And he's passed out completely like this. As far as I know, to this day, never got a DUI, never even really got in trouble. So that footage goes totally viral. Everybody in the town and the nation, or a lot of people, saw it, and everybody's joking about it and saying, that's how, if I was even a point or two over the legal limit, my life would be horrible for a year or two. I'd get a DUI, everything would change. This guy's 5 times over the legal limit, and it was there, get him into the ambulance, no problem, no charges or investigation or nothing is necessary. Take care of him. Everyone's like rubbing his back and stuff. So that happened. Everybody heard about it. Everybody saw it. So then Chief Vanessa Wilson takes over, and a few months into her reign, one of her top lieutenants, Vanessa Wilson definitely had her protected class, her made men, lieutenants that she promoted, surrounded herself with her people. Well, one of her top lieutenants, the word gets out that he crashed his police cruiser on the way home from, quote, a business meeting at a restaurant by the mall. Crashed his car on the way home and then left the scene of the accident. So it's like, whoa, wait. The top lieutenant for the police chief crashed on the way home from the restaurant by the mall, left the scene. What did he hit? When you say crash, what did he run into? I don't know. No one knows still. We don't know. Well, can we see pictures of the crashed police cruiser that taxpayers have to pay for? Oh, no, we're not going to release any of the pictures of the crashed car of the top lieutenant that crashed from the bar, coming home from the bar by the mall and left the scene of the accident? Well, an investigative journalism team, remember, a few months before you had the 5 times the legal limit, so already everybody's thinking about this type of stuff. So the investigative journalism team files a records request for pictures of the crashed car, and they finally release them once the request goes in, and the whole side of the car is totally smashed. The back wheel well is really damaged. It's not like he was in a parking garage and bumped into the pillar and it was a little scratch like that big or something. This was the entire side of the... And to this day, what did you hit? No. So you don't know what you hit. Your entire side of the car is destroyed and you left the scene of the accident and that's it? Yep, that's it. And he also was not given a DUI, there was no investigation. He was actually promoted until the same investigative journalism team 7 weeks later put in a request for information. Hey, whatever happened to the top lieutenant that totally crashed his car, has no idea what he hit, and then left the scene of the accident? And then that day, 7 weeks later, the same day that the request for, hey, what happened, on that day, he was put on administrative leave. So it's obvious they weren't going to do anything. Just let it blow over. Nothing. He's a top lieutenant, if you don't remember. Let the whole thing blow over, and then they got that pesky, hey, what's going on with that officer? Damn, they're still thinking about it. Okay, well, as of right now, he's on administrative leave. And administrative leave is pretty much... Can you just go take a vacation until the news cycle switches? This is not looking good. Okay, administrative leave, but that's it. And then reports are that he was driving his crashed car around doing police work. Imagine if you were getting a DUI next to a police car that had been crashed, and most likely a driving drunk type situation. You're going, how is this fair? Look at your car. You crashed it from coming home from the restaurant by the mall. I'm sitting here getting my life totally switched up. What happened to you? So, morale was not good inside the department, because also Chief Vanessa Wilson was not consistent. If it was one of her top lieutenants, made men, protected class, everything was very held close to the chest, swept under the rug. We're not making any statements. We're letting it blow over. But then something happened to another cop in the department that wasn't one of her main guys. And in a press conference, Chief Vanessa Wilson is accused of bizarrely oversharing, talking about the guy's marriage, how it failed, and all of this extremely personal details for this, what does she call it? Vanessa Wilson calls it like a quest for transparency, or the spirit of transparency, which I think is great for a police chief to have. Just be open about it. If someone screws up, just talk about it. Let's be totally transparent. It always comes off better than trying to fake like everything's fine and sweeping it under the rug and not releasing the pictures. So I think it was a good strategy, the quest for transparency in the spirit of transparency. But the problem is, it wasn't consistent. If it was one of her guys, it was North Korea flushed down the memory hole. And if it wasn't one of her guys, all of a sudden it was the quest for transparency. And apparently the cop that she overshared and talked about his failed marriage and I think maybe even a drinking problem, he went home and drank himself to death. And so the unfairness and the inconsistency was making morale within Chief Vanessa Wilson's department tank really fast. Also, crime on the outside was skyrocketing, and morale of business owners and people in the town is also tanking. And what did I want to say? I want to say one more thing about so as morale in the department is going down, people start transferring, putting in early retirements, leaving, quitting, and they're having a real numbers issue. And so the department offers $8,000 to any officer that stays as an incentive. You get $8,000. And that kind of stopped the bleeding for a little bit, but they're losing numbers. Apparently, Chief Vanessa Wilson, they had 2,500 unprocessed crimes, everything from murder to carjacking that hadn't even been assigned a detective or anything. So they're getting behind on all the reports, and it's not going all that well. for the department and the city of Aurora, and critics for Chief Vanessa Wilson start to get louder and louder. And probably the loudest critic that Chief Vanessa Wilson had during the first year of her time as police chief was newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky. And Danielle Jurinsky grew up in Aurora, owns 2 restaurants in Aurora, never thought she would be a politician or run for anything, but she alluded to in an interview that she was seeing the way Aurora, Colorado was going. She didn't want to see it go down like that. She owns 2 businesses there, and she thought, you know what, I'm going to run for councilwoman. So she runs for councilwoman, wins in December of 2021. 1 month later, in January of 2022, newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, goes on the Stephen Tubbs radio show. I've never listened to the show other than that little clip when newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky went on, but that's a great name for radio, right? You're listening to Tubbs in the Morning on 92.5, Tubbs 96.3. So anyway, newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky goes on the Tubbs Morning Radio Show, and they're talking about how crime is going up in Aurora, Colorado, and they start talking about the police department and how they're having numbers issues and how they're way behind, and about how the officers that are on duty are just going from call to call to call to call, and they're so busy, they're running around with their heads cut off, and then they do the report, and it goes on just a pile of stacked up, unprocessed reports, and it's not going well, and Danielle Jurinsky, newly elected councilwoman, is really being critical of Police Chief Vanessa Wilson. And at one part during the Stephen Tubbs radio interview, she calls for Vanessa Wilson to resign as chief, and then they keep talking about it, and it keeps, the energy of the conversation is building, and it peaks with newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky saying, Chief Vanessa Wilson is trash. And you can quote me on that. Chief Vanessa Wilson is trash, trash, trash. Well, that goes out over the airwaves, and somewhere across town, old Robin Niceta, I don't know if it was at her desk at the Department of Human Services building or in her car driving out to investigate some parents. I don't know where she was, but somewhere across town, Robin Niceta heard newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky call for her girlfriend, Chief Vanessa Wilson, to resign and also call her trash. And that sent old Robin Niceta into a rage. And Robin Niceta made a decision in that moment that will change her life forever. She decided to retaliate against newly elected Congresswoman Danielle Jurinsky by calling the Department of Human Services, where she works, the Child Abuse Report Hotline, and anonymously leaving a tip that newly elected councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky molests her 3-year-old son. And she kept it anonymous, but she said that she was an employee at one of Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky's restaurants, and she witnessed Danielle Jurinsky molest her son. And she leaves that anonymous tip at the DHS where she works. Well, the next day, Danielle Jurinsky, the day after, she went on the Stephen Tubbs morning radio show and talked about the police force and called Vanessa Wilson trash. The day after she went on the Stephen Tubbs show, she gets a call from the Department of Human Services in Aurora, Colorado, and they say that they have some concerning anonymous accusations about her and her son, and as of that moment, she is under investigation for child abuse by the DHS. And imagine being Danielle Jurinsky. You're going, what? What do you mean I'm under investigation for molesting my son? I don't molest my son. I'm a good mother. And then you have social caseworkers out there coming into your house. It's an intrusive, demeaning investigation. And knowing in your heart and in your soul that you are a good parent and totally fit to take care of your kids, and having government square-jawed dudes with windbreakers in your house looking at you, deciding, and having a possibility that the state could take away your kids would be a hopeless horror that I don't wish on anyone. I can't imagine. If someone came in here and said, you are not fit to take care of Walter and we are taking him away, I would go and get him 3 hours later with a shotgun. In 2 hours, I would turn into Anton Chigurh and go get my dog back. I can't imagine what that feels like. So for 2 long weeks, Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky is under intense investigation for child molestation of her 3-year-old son. Of course, nothing comes out of it because she doesn't molest her son, and so much so, it seemed so weird and so obvious that she wasn't abusing her son. It made him think, let's look into that accusation, that anonymous phone call, because you're a councilwoman, you're a public figure, you had just gone on the Stephen Tubbs show and called the police chief trash. Let's look into that little anonymous tip that came into the DHS, and as they look into it, it's all coming up. Social caseworker at the DHS, girlfriend of Chief Vanessa Wilson, Robin Niceta. And so the investigation into Robin Niceta and her making these false accusations really starts going. That's December of 2021. Let's see. 3 months after that, the city takes what sounds like unprecedented action and emergency fires Chief Vanessa Wilson as police chief. The city manager in a press conference essentially said the 3 parts of the job of being police chief is community outreach, connecting with the community, managing the department, and leadership over the department. He said that Chief Vanessa Wilson was pretty good at the community outreach and connecting with the community, but the overall leadership and management of the department, she was bad, was incompetent a little bit. So they have to fire her. So all of a sudden, Chief Vanessa Wilson is out, and she does a press conference the next day and saying, it is a political hit that I'm fired. It's my political opponents, nothing else, by conspiracy theorists to get me out. I was a good police chief. And standing behind her at the press conference, still under investigation for the false child abuse reports for Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, but in the press conference behind Chief Wilson is Robin Niceta. And after the chief gets done speaking at her press conference, I will get them back. I shouldn't have been fired. I was a great police chief. Then they go, Chief Vanessa Wilson gets done with her speech and goes back and hugs Danielle. Doesn't hug Danielle. Hugs her girlfriend, Robin Niceta. They embrace on the big press conference day. And then 1 month after that, after Chief Wilson was fired, Robin Niceta is charged with 2 counts relating to filing a false child abuse accusation against a public figure. Well, as you can imagine, Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky files a lawsuit against Robin Niceta for filing the fake child abuse report. And already, a couple months ago, a judge ruled in Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky's favor and said that social caseworker Robin Niceta has to pay Danielle Jurinsky $3.5 million. $150,000 for every day of the 2 weeks that she was under the demeaning, intrusive child abuse investigation, and then another $1.5 million for just having to go through it. And so she's arrested. Robin Niceta is arrested 1 month after her girlfriend is fired from police chief. She's sued. And then as the story of social caseworker for the DHS is arrested for filing a false child abuse claim against Danielle Jurinsky. As that story, it hits the news and gets bigger and more people see it, someone comes forward and says, hey, that was Robin Niceta was my social caseworker when I was under investigation for the DHS, and she tried to hook up with me, and when I didn't want to hook up with her, she tried to get my kids taken away. And then another person comes out with a similar story, and then another person, and then another person, and all together 40 people come out of the woodwork saying, when I was under investigation, when she was my caseworker, this happened and that happened. And it's become a class action lawsuit with 40 people in it. And the leader of the class action lawsuit was Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky. She already won her lawsuit and got $3.5 million, but there's 40 more. And the lawyer representing all 40 of the people that are all suing Robin Niceta, the lawyer said the stories are all chillingly similar, but the two that he talked about in the media is one mother was being under investigation by the DHS, and Robin Niceta was conducting the investigation, and they were meeting with each other, and the whole process was going. And then one night, Robin Niceta calls the mother and says, hey, I have some gift cards that I could give you that could help you out financially. Why don't you come over to my house? And the mother thought, all right, well, that's a little weird to go over to my caseworker's house, but I need the gift cards will help me out a lot, so I'm going to go get them. And so the mother, who's under investigation, whether she's fit to take care of her kids or not, goes over to her caseworker's house in the evening, ends up at Robin Niceta's house to get the gift cards, and apparently Robin Niceta said, can I get you a drink? And the woman goes, what? I don't know. I guess. No, I don't think I want a drink. Could I just have the gift cards? What are we doing here? And then apparently Robin Niceta tries to hook up with her, awkwardly makes a move, goes in for the kiss, and the mother who's under investigation goes, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, hey, sorry, I don't know if I sent you mixed messages, but I don't want to hook up with you, Niceta. And after that, immediately there was a flip, and Niceta went full hag and went into a rage. And the mother says after that moment, Niceta did everything in her power to get her kid taken away, quote, permanently. What kind of a nightmare psycho of a person could do that? Could recommend for something as trivial and nothing as someone doesn't want to hook up with you. Sorry, Niceta, I don't want to hook up with you. I don't know what to tell you. What, are you going to get my family taken away? And all of the stories are like that. Another couple in the 40 of the lawsuit is suing, saying that Niceta knowingly gave wrong information that led their kid to be in foster care much longer. So who would do that? How could Niceta wake up in the morning and style her little pixie haircut the way she does and eat her eggs and drink coffee and drive to work in sunny Colorado traffic and sit at her desk and go home at the end of the night and scissor with her girlfriend, knowing that she tried to get someone's kids taken away? In the massive class action lawsuit, she's referred to as a, quote, family destroyer. Think about how you would have to conduct yourself and for how long you would have to conduct yourself like that before 40 people were suing you and referring to you as a family destroyer. And then, crazy enough, this is where the story actually starts to pick up and get wild. So that lawsuit, the class action 40 people lawsuit, is trucking along. The Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky's lawsuit is already ruled on $3.5 million. And she's still looking at the two serious charges for the false child abuse accusation of the public figure. So for the past year, pretty much exactly 1 year ago, Robin Niceta was arrested for the false child abuse accusation. She embarrassingly resigned from her social caseworker job at the DHS. Sorry, Niceta, no more No more cake government job for you. And so she resigns from her job, and 1 year ago, pretty much, she's arrested and charged. So this whole year now has been pre-trial stuff. They're plugging away pre-trial. The energy I got was prosecution was ready to go to trial. When are we doing it? Let's go. Let's get a date. We are ready to cook this woman. And they're headed towards trial. Everything seems to be going well. And then out of the blue, Niceta's defense attorney file a bombshell motion saying it doesn't really look like old Niceta is even competent for trial because she has an aggressive brain tumor. And they submitted a picture of an MRI picture of old Niceta's brain with this giant brain tumor and a letter from her cancer doctor that she's seeing in New Mexico. And all of a sudden, it was a wait, what moment? The pretrial was plugging along, everything was looking good, and then wham! We're talking about competency hearings and aggressive brain tumors, and we got to order tests, and that's going to take forever. And the defense attorney said, Your Honor, we're going to need a delay. As you can see, with all this stuff, we're going to need a long delay. So a delay was asked for, and all of a sudden the prosecution is going, what? Wait, an aggressive brain tumor? Where did this come from? And they said yes, and during this time, Robin Niceta was claiming to be fully nonverbal due as a tragic symptom of the aggressive brain tumor. She was claiming to be nonverbal. Also during this time, she had bonded out and gone to New Mexico where she had grown up, and during this time she did a ridiculous interview, I think it was with her mom, where she's pretending to be a aggressive brain tumor casualty, and her face, I'm going to show you guys a picture of this interview. Apparently she drooled in the interview for fully effect, but she's pretending to be not fit for trial. So here, take a look at that real quick. So here we have old Niceta pretending in an interview to be nonverbal and brain damaged because of an aggressive brain tumor. Look how she's holding her hand. Look at her face. Apparently she drooled during this interview, and now this is all gone. It was all fake. Look at that. She's really selling it. So she does that interview, and her mom, they're saying she has this brain tumor, but people that saw on the news the picture, because it was submitted in evidence, the picture of her brain tumor, start calling in and start emailing the station and the prosecution saying, you got to look into these medical records that she put in about her aggressive brain tumor. If you Google image search the type of cancer that she has, it looks like her tumor comes up. And people start researching the doctor that she saw and the clinic she went to, and a completely uninvolved Stanford doctor contacted the judge's office and says, don't believe these cancer records. You got to look into it. So then everybody goes back in court, and the prosecution goes, okay, all right, the winds had just changed. We need a competency test. I don't think she's fit for trial. We need a delay, Your Honor. Let's just delay everything. All of a sudden, the prosecution is going, we have significant concerns that the medical records provided by Miss Niceta to defense counsel are fabricated. If you Google image search the cancer she has, her tumor pops up. There's no evidence that the doctor in New Mexico that she is seeing exists. There's the medical practice that the imaginary doctor that she's seeing also doesn't exist. The website for the imaginary medical practice was purchased. The domain was purchased off of GoDaddy.com in January of 2023. Your Honor, this is looking totally fake. We have no way of knowing if this is real. Robin Niceta needs to be brought back to Colorado from New Mexico, and we need to figure this out. So then the judge orders Robin Niceta to come back to face the music. Remember, she had just done that interview where she's holding her hand and pretending to be brain damaged and drooling, and the whole ridiculous thing, claiming to be nonverbal. So she gets back they're in court. Her lawyer, the one that boldly filed the motion, Your Honor, my client has aggressive brain cancer and isn't fit for trial. Well, all of a sudden, everybody's making fun of the cancer documents, and the whole thing is definitely fake. That lawyer requests to be taken off. Your Honor, I would like to be taken off. They probably felt a little bit stupid for being tricked with the fake cancer records. And that lawyer went on to say that she talked to the imaginary doctor in New Mexico. So meaning that old Niceta had to find someone to pretend to be her cancer doctor so the lawyer would believe it. So that lawyer says, I want to be removed. So then the judge asked Niceta, who up till that point had been pretending to be totally nonverbal, asked Niceta, is it okay if your lawyer leaves? And Niceta, totally verbal, says, yes, I'd like to thank them for everything that they've done. So then all of a sudden, Niceta has a new lawyer, and it was this funny moment of the case because her old lawyer and Niceta had done this whole aggressive brain tumor, totally nonverbal, brain damaged, dire medical state, can't go to trial. Okay, that lawyer's out. What's the new lawyer going to say? How are they going to deal with that? Are they going to keep pretending that she has a brain tumor or what? And hilariously, the new lawyer, they just let it all disappear. Nothing, no comment or anything about it, and the new lawyer is no longer asking to delay the criminal trial due to incompetency. And so that just proves that the whole cancer thing was totally fake, and the judge was not happy. He said something like that is how charges could be dropped, or just, you know, it could be a decision like, yeah, we're not going to trial. This woman has a massive brain tumor that's probably affecting her behavior. He was like, that is something that could have affected this whole thing, and it was totally fake. So if old Niceta does get found guilty for these charges, all of a sudden it's going to be the judge that she just made really mad with the whole fake nonverbal cancer diagnosis is going to be the one that's sentencing her. And when she finally does get through these 2 serious criminal charges, she still has the $3.5 million she has to pay Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky. Just think how old Niceta is seething about that. She was so mad at Danielle Jurinsky for criticizing her police chief girlfriend, which is going to happen. Her police chief is essentially a politician, and politicians get critiqued. She was so mad just for what she said on the radio show that she made the allegation. Think how mad she is now. She's going through the criminal charges, and on top of that, she's got to pay her $3.5 million, which I can't imagine she has. And then once she pays that, she still has 40 other lawsuits coming down. So let's just do a quick lawsuit update of the whole thing before I end. All the way back, Robin Niceta's ex, who was arrested and charged for coming into her house and hitting her over the head and knocking her unconscious, that ex is suing ex-police chief Vanessa Wilson and the city. Danielle Jurinsky is suing, and already did in one, Robin Niceta. 40 other people are also suing Robin Niceta. Ex-police chief Vanessa Wilson is suing the city for wrongful termination. And is that it? So there is a complete and total, good old-fashioned, bona fide shitstorm going down in Aurora, Colorado. Old Robin Niceta's criminal trial is supposed to start August 1st. And I will be paying attention. I'm going to cut it off there. I love you all. Remember, folks, if we stick together, we can do anything. Shamita.